shakalaka!
Get up, it's time to slam now. We got the real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam.
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown! And the Cavaliers by three.
Slam, and welcome to the jam. Come on and slam, if you wanna jam.
Yo-ho! Welcome back, friends, to the Ultimate Warriors podcast. I'm Ben Christopher, joined as always by the man who he was actually drafted 86th in the 1996 NFL draft. My little brother, that's Teddy Bruschi. How you doing, Ted?
I'm doing all right. Our heat's actually shut off right now, so that's why I'm rocking the hat and the hoodie. So a little cold, but other than that, I'm doing well.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, man. I actually had a very weird weekend, and I think I actually saved somebody's life on Saturday morning, so that was pretty cool. I was on my way to a workout class. I stopped at a gas station to buy some booze, which is funny that on like Saturday at 9 a.m. I'm going to buy booze, but on Friday night, one of the guys that goes with me, he gave me some beers. So I said, I'm going to return the favor and bring some beers for him. So I stopped at the gas station, and as I'm walking in, I hear this car. I can hear the engine running. And obviously, like, that's not normal because it sounded like somebody's foot was literally on the gas, like pushing the gas down.
Right.
So I kind of went to look and like see what was going on. And there was this lady. She was just passed out in her car. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. Is she taking a nap? Because her foot's on the gas. So I like walked up to like just make sure everything was fine. And she had a needle in her arm. So
Oh my God.
dude, that's a drug overdose. So I called 911 because I don't know how long she'd been there, but her foot was on the gas. Like clearly she was out of it. So I'm on 911. They tell me like, hey, hold tight. We got the paramedics coming. Like, stay on the phone with us in case the car starts to move or she wakes up. So you can like let us know.
Yeah.
I had to give my name, a witness statement, and
Oh
then
my gosh.
the police got there. An ambulance got there. They like I kind of like took a step back at that point because I was like, I'm not gonna be standing here watching these guys like do their thing. So she wasn't waking up though. They were knocking on the window, so I was really worried.
Did you check for a pulse?
No, I didn't go in, man. So her car was locked. So they were knocking on the window. She wasn't responding. So they actually took like the little whatever the police have. I'm not a police officer, and they like got the lock open. They like jimmied through the window to get the lock open.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like hung around because I just wanted to like I was just hoping and praying that she was alive, and luckily she was. But that was pretty weird. That's not something you expect, especially like we're kind of in the Northeast Ohio area. That was in Hudson, Ohio, which is like one of the like nicest, richest communities in the area. It was
you wouldn't expect that.
Yeah, it was right in the middle of their downtown. So hopefully she's okay. But yeah, that was a little bit crazy for me this weekend.
I've never dialed 911. Like, what's that process even like? Like,
I dialed 911. They answered and said like Hudson Emergency Service, and then within like 3 minutes they were there. Like they asked me, they said like, what's your emergency? They said, what's your emergency? And I told them like, there's this lady, she's passed out. There's a needle in her arm. Like she's got her foot on the gas. She's at pump 5 of a gas station. Like that.
Oh my gosh.
So, and
That's
they got there pretty quick. They got there literally when I was on the phone, probably within like 2 minutes. But anyways, just kids, don't do drugs,
Don't do drugs.
So, yeah. Anyways, but let's get back to basketball. That's what we're here for. And the season literally, it starts today as people are listening to this. And I personally just couldn't be more excited. Ted, I know you couldn't be more excited. We've got some really fun questions that we're going to get into to kind of just prepare everyone for the season. No Andrew Smith rap today. Normally he's here. He gives us a nice rap, let you know what to expect. He's a little bit busy. He's helping Santa Claus pack his sleigh because we were only a few days away from that. He's such a generous gentleman. So let's just jump right into these 10 questions that we've got. And the first one, this is for us Ohioans. And Ted, I'm going to start with you. What are you going to be paying attention to with this Cavs team? What should people be looking at?
Yeah, so the first thing I'm going to be looking at this year is just how well Garland plays. It's his second year, his sophomore season. And we were all a little underwhelmed by his rookie season, but I was looking back at his stats, and it wasn't anything special, but it was an okay rookie year. He averaged 12.3 points per game. He averaged 4 assists, 2 rebounds, and shot 40% from the field, which no rookies usually shoot well from the field. So 40% is not abnormal there. But you got to keep in mind, he's still only 20 years old.
Yeah.
I don't even think I kissed a girl yet when I was 20 years old. So
Ted, we've all
he's
heard
got
the raps.
No, so I expect him to take a big jump. And just to give you some comparisons, I looked up 2 current NBA point guards. The one, his name is Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
Have you heard of him?
He's been an all-star a couple times.
Exactly. So his rookie year, he actually averaged 12.1 points per game. He averaged 4.4 assists, and he shot 36.6% from the field. So that's pretty similar to Garland. And then I also looked up De'Aaron Fox on the Kings, who's, a fringe all-star right now going into his 4th year. He averaged 11.6 points per game and had 4.4 assists and shot 41% from the field. So pretty similar rookie seasons. And both those guys ended up jumping up to 17 points per game in their 2nd year. So if Garland can do something like that and maybe get those assists up in between 5 and 6 around there, he could look like a cornerstone after next year.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really fun to see him. That's kind of like, so mine, I'm just really interested to see what the Cavs do with their backcourt in general. I think people, we've just been so spoiled. We've had some really awesome rookies, not necessarily in Cleveland. I mean, we had LeBron, we had Kyrie, but recently, like Luka Doncic, Trae Young, Zion Williamson, they came into the league and they just took off. And we didn't really get that from Garland. So
right.
I'm actually, I like those comparisons you just made. I would love to see him become one of those players.
Yeah.
And from everything I'm hearing from Cavs training camp is that he's been really impressive starting camp. A lot of people are saying he's been like the best player there. So, I've watched a little bit of preseason. I don't put too much into that. They're trying a lot of things. They're learning plays. They're running weird lineups. So we're really going to get to see him, here when the season starts. But other than him, we have Colin Sexton, and he can score the ball, but I've just never loved his court vision. I mean, last year, he averaged nearly 21 points a game, but he only had 3 assists, and a lot of times he was our point guard. So we just need a little bit more ball movement and just creating for other teammates from him and Garland. And, Garland, like you said, he had almost 5 assists per game last year, but from those two, we're going to need to see a little bit more. And that's kind of what's disappointed me in the preseason. I haven't seen a big step forward from Garland, but again, they're trying a lot of new things. So I'm going to wait till the season starts. We'll see how that goes. And then we've got Kevin Porter Jr., and he was playing absolutely amazing towards the end of last season. He actually had a 30-point game at the end of February, and the Cavs in that game beat the eventual Eastern Conference champion Miami Heat. And in that same game, he added 7 assists and 9 boards. So all of those guys, Ted, you kind of said how young they are. All of them are under 21 years of age. So the only one that can even drink right now is Colin Sexton, and he's 21 years old. So those guys could be here for a long time, and I'm just really curious to kind of see what they do with that rotation. So that's something that I'm really going to be paying attention to. But so up next, Ted, I'm always watching NBA League Pass during the season. I've got games on basically nonstop. So besides the Cavs, who's going to be the most fun team to watch going into this year? Who's the most fun team to watch?
Most fun team. And let me just put a disclaimer. I did not buy these. My roommate's girlfriend bought them for me as a joke. And it's the only thing I have to drink here other than water. So
yes. Drink up.
No, but the team I'm looking forward to most to watch, this was a hard one for me because I was thinking maybe the Pelicans with Zion. I was thinking maybe the Suns now that they have Chris Paul, or potentially even the Hawks, with Trae Young. They picked up with Yanovich and Gallinari. They're going to be scoring a ton of points. Last year, my favorite team to watch was the Nuggets with the Joker.
You love the Nuggets.
I do love the Nuggets. But I'm most excited to watch the Mavericks this year with Luka. The way he played in the bubble, I mean, it was just so fun to watch. And he's the front runner right now, betting favorite to be the MVP. And I think once they get Porzingis back, they're just going to be even more fun to watch. So I think they're who I'm looking forward to the most. What about you?
No, that's a great team. I thought for sure that you were going to pick the Nuggets. You love the Nuggets. And my number 2, if I had to pick what teams are Ted's going to pick, I would have picked Nuggets and then Grizzlies because you love the Grizzlies. But
John Morant is fun to watch.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he is. So I'm excited for them. But my number 1 team, I have to go. You mentioned them, Ted. It's the Phoenix Suns. And last year, when they had their full squad, they were just awesome. They unfortunately lost DeAndre Ayton for 25 games for violating the NBA's drug policy. And in a shortened season, because of COVID, obviously, that was a huge, huge hit for them. Devin Booker, he's a scoring machine. They added future Hall of Famer Chris Paul, who last year was still an all-star. He's going to replace Ricky Rubio at starting point guard. And I think that's really going to help the team because Chris Paul can space the floor. Everyone went under every single screen with Rubio. They wanted him to shoot. So I think it's going to open things up for Ayton. I think he's going to score even more. I think we're going to see a lot of pick and rolls, kind of like Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan back in the day. So I'm really excited to watch those guys. Plus, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already know I'm a huge Steve Nash fan, and the Suns haven't made the playoffs since Nash was on the team. So I just really want them to get there. We got to get over Steve Nash. I have a hard time with it still, but let's go Suns. So I've got the Suns.
Yeah, they're going to be a fun team to watch. Devin Booker too was playing unreal. They'll be a good one.
Yep, for sure. So next question, Ted, what's the most confusing team? There's a lot of teams that I just can't quite pinpoint where they're going to be. Who's the most confusing for you?
So the obvious one's probably Houston. I mean, they just traded Westbrook. They have James Harden, who's requesting a trade, so you don't really know what's going to happen there. But everybody kind of knows what's going on with that one. So I'm actually going to bring up the San Antonio Spurs, which I understand why they wanted to try to make the playoffs last year to keep their streak going. But now that they broke that streak, they still have some old guys that they can get rid of on the trade market, and they'd still have some value. I mean, they got Aldridge, they got DeRozan,
right?
Patty Mills is a solid backup point guard, Rudy Gay. So they have a bunch of guys they could trade away and get some assets because they don't really have any young building blocks. But the Spurs just never actually fully go into a rebuild because they haven't had to over the past 22 years.
Right. Basically, ever since we've been watching basketball.
Right. So I was actually expecting them to maybe trade some of those guys before the season started, but they haven't. So I'm just a little confused what their game plan is this year. So other than the Rockets, I'd say the Spurs are probably the team I'm most confused about. What about you?
Yeah, no. So I thought about the Rockets as well, but this one, man, I just do not know what to expect from these guys. I'm talking about the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, they could win the East if everyone's healthy, or they could finish like in the middle range of the playoffs, maybe like a 4 or 5 seed. I personally think Kevin Durant is going to come back strong. This break that they've had because of COVID and the weird way that the season went, it probably benefited him more than any other player in the league, giving him a little bit of extra time to rehab. And he didn't have the pressure to come back that we've seen a lot of players face when they're going through injury. I specifically remember Derrick Rose in the playoffs. Right. Maybe it was 2014, 15, whenever he, was coming off an injury and everyone wanted him to play and he didn't think he was ready. So I think this really helped Durant. He's not going to have to worry about that. But, I mean, he did suffer a really major injury. He ruptured his Achilles, and I don't think he'll be the same MVP, 2-time champ Kevin Durant, but I'm thinking he'll be somewhere 90 to 95% of that player, which is still going to be really solid.
Which is still a top 10 player in the NBA.
Exactly. So I still think he's going to come back and be strong. I don't think he'll be the same guy, but he'll be there. And then we all know we're the ultimate worst. We know what Kyrie can do. You can see him in the background if you're watching on the video stream here. He's on my wall. He will always be there. We all know what he can do. So
Right.
he also, though, has had a lot of injuries the past couple of years. So I just need to see how those two guys look and need to just know if they can stay healthy. Because if they do, they can be they can win the East. So we'll see what these guys can do. But yeah, I'm going with the Nets. I'm just confused by them.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to worry about Kyrie ruining the team chemistry. He's such a weird guy. But yeah, that Nets team does have so much talent. Even other than Kyrie and Durant, they have Harris and Dinwiddie and LeVert, DeAndre Jordan, Allen. Like they have so much talent there. So
they're definitely making the playoffs. They're basically they could win a championship, or they could lose in the first round, depending on how they come out this year. So I'm intrigued by them more than anything.
Yeah. Do you think Durant? You think he could be an MVP candidate this year?
Not a chance. But actually, that leads us into our next question, Ted. Who does win the MVP this year?
MVP this year?
Yep.
I'll go with Luka Doncic. I mean, the way he played in that bubble, I think the momentum's going to carry over. And like I mentioned, the unicorn is actually going to miss some time at the beginning of the year. He's going to be putting up huge numbers, carrying the scoring load. And then the Greek Freak, he'll put up his crazy stats, but I think there's going to be a little voters fatigue going on there since he's won the past two.
Yep.
I mean, you could see LeBron dealing with that his whole career. He could have won that MVP every year. So I think there might be a little bit of that going on. LeBron cares more about winning championships than MVPs at this point. And I think him and AD will kind of take away some of each other's stats from each other. So I'm going to go with Luka for MVP. Who are you thinking?
Yeah, so Ted, I also have Luka D 3D triple-double. I was very impressed with him last year. He averaged just under 29 points a game, up from 21 points his rookie year when he won Rookie of the Year. He also had 8.8 assists, up from 6 his rookie year the year before. And he averaged 9 rebounds, up from 7.8 that same rookie year when he won Rookie of the Year. So Luka will turn 22 this year. It's his third year in the league. The youngest player to ever win MVP was also 22 and in his third year. His career didn't go quite as well as everybody had expected and hoped. That's Derrick Rose. But I think that Luka's going to make another jump. The guy's 22 years old. So I see him coming in. I still feel bad about Derrick Rose. But yeah, I like Luka this year.
Yeah. And in the NBA, I feel like 22 is when they hit their prime now. Like that's usually around their prime starting.
And you mentioned it. There is everybody wants the next guy. So Giannis, he got his 2. I agree with you. I literally had that in my notes. I think there will be some voter fatigue there. I think he's going to have a great year. LeBron, I think they're going to rest him a little bit more, save him for the playoffs. Anthony Davis could be an MVP candidate as well, but I think Luke is going to get it. So let's move on to the next, Ted. And this week is Christmas. So, Ted, this one is a little bit off topic, but what is the best Christmas present you've ever received?
Best Christmas present I've ever received.
And it better be one of the sweet jerseys I bought you.
It might be the Muggsy Bogues jersey. Was that my birthday or was that Christmas? I got it sitting next to me right here.
I think that was Christmas last year.
Yeah, this might be my favorite one ever, actually. So I'll go with that because off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone's growing up that I liked a whole lot that I remembered. So I'll go with the Muggsy Bogues jersey. What about you?
Ted, obviously we're brothers. Our family has this classic home video back when everyone had like the old big video cameras they had to hold over your shoulder and you were recording on a VHS tape. And,
I remember.
Oh, yeah. So the video is me and my older sister, Holly, and it's sometime in the early 90s. I don't remember the exact year. But Holly and we sprint downstairs. My dad's taping, and we run straight to this present. And they clearly put it somewhere so that we would go and open this one first. And Ted, do you remember what this was?
Was this? No, I don't.
So Ted, I literally scream out. We rip it open, like sprint down the stairs, find this gift. Me and Holly rip it open. It's got both our names on it. It's a Super Nintendo, and I just scream out, "Ah, Super Nintendo!" Like literally right after we run down the stairs, we went straight to it. And I'm sorry, Amber, you've gotten me some great gifts, but that time, that moment, and that reaction just can't be topped. So I've got to go with the Super Nintendo back in the early '90s.
What was the Bible video game or something from one of those videos?
Yeah, so sorry, Mom. I think this probably was the year before that because they also had the old big video recorder. And my mom asks me on camera, Ben, did you like your Christmas gifts? And I said, no, Mom, I didn't get anything good. And Mom goes, Ben, you got Bible Nintendo. It was like a regular Nintendo game. So I think that's why I got the Super Nintendo the following year, because I was so devastated the year before when I got Bible Nintendo.
Yeah, I love that story. So, Ben, you got Bible Nintendo.
Yep. I was like, no, Mom, that sucks. So there is one thing that you could do for your loved ones for Christmas. You could head on over to mark1sports.com and grab some of our gear. We have some really good Cleveland sports-based gear that anybody that's a Cleveland sports fan would enjoy. And while you're there, make sure to check out the Danger Zone. The frickin' Cleveland Browns, we have 10 wins for just the second time since 1994. And that's probably around the time I got that Super Nintendo we just talked about. So now is a great time to celebrate with them. And, dare I say, maybe we make a little Super Bowl run here. So Josh and Rich, they're the best Browns talk in town. So make sure to tune in. And then check out CLE Tribecast. Jeremy and Kevin, they keep you up to date on the Cleveland Indians offseason. We've come really close to a World Series, really the past couple of years, World Series championship. And they are going to let you know exactly what we need to do to win. And then there's also Mark One Sports. Ethan, he covers everything, news, sports, movies, anything that's big that's going on. He's going to talk about it. And he's also doing Moneyline DFS. He's giving away free fantasy advice and winning all kinds of money. You might as well get it. So with that in mind, Ted, did you play any fantasy over the weekend?
Not yet, but I am tomorrow with basketball starting. So if you're listening to this podcast, now's the time to jump into Thrive. We've had the promo code out there. It is Christmas season. Do yourself a gift, deposit some money, double it up using the Mark One promo code, and win some money now that basketball is starting up.
Heck yeah, man. And in our personal league, we've got a Clash of the Titans the first week, Ted. You and I are actually playing each other. So
yeah, how do you like your team?
I love them.
Do you? I liked mine up until my last 3 picks or so, but nobody wants to hear about our fantasy basketball.
I don't think so either, but I'm very excited for it. I know Tabor is excited for it. Jeremy's in the league. We're all excited. But let's just jump into our next question. So we have a lot of all-stars in the NBA. Who do you think is going to make the all-star team for the first time this year?
So this one, I'm going to go back to my favorite team, the Nuggets.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be Jamal Murray.
Ooh.
I mean, he's gotten better every year. He really became a star once the bubble played through, which I think is really going to help him with voting and just recognition out there in the West. Yeah. He averaged 18.5 points per game and 5 assists last year in the regular season. But then in the bubble, he averaged 26.5 points and 6.6 assists. So I expect him to maybe not be at quite that level that he was at the playoffs, but probably around 24 and 6. And I think the Nuggets are going to be one of the top 3 seeds. So they definitely deserve 2 All-Stars if that's the case. And I was thinking, other than Lillard, I think Murray might be the best point guard out West, unless you think Steph Curry's still better than him, which I don't.
No, Kyrie will hit buckets over him all day. But,
right. Westbrook just went out East. And so unless you consider Luka a point guard, I think he could be potentially the second best point guard out West.
Yeah, I do think Warriors fans would have something to say about that, but he took his team to the conference finals last year, and
Yeah.
I agree. He's going to be awesome. But for me personally, I'm going to take Zion Williamson, and we only got to see him for 24 games this last year, and he was on a minutes restriction during those games. But man, when he played, he was fun. He ended up averaging 22 and a half points, and a lot of them just showcased his crazy athleticism. So he might even get voted in by the fans this year because people are just loving Zion. He's going to be a big name. He's going to have the highlight plays. I think he's going to take a step up because he's not going to be on that minutes restriction. He's finally going to get to really stretch his legs and really do his stuff. So nobody was super impressed with him in the bubble, but before the bubble, he was awesome. So I'm going with Zion here.
Yeah, I think he's going to be an all-star as well. I think both those guys are going to be first-timers.
And we talked about this already, Ted, but I actually had tickets to the All-Star game, and it's not even going to happen. I do think they're still voting on All-Stars because there's salary bonuses that you get. So I was
actually going to ask you that. I didn't know if they were even voting on All-Stars or not this year. I wasn't sure.
I think they are because there are certain clauses in contracts that if you are voted an All-Star, you get bonuses. So I think they will. But,
that's true, yeah.
Yep. So, all right, Ted. So this past week, we had a couple of new contract extensions, and I just wanted to kind of get your take on them. Rudy Gobert with the Jazz signed a big contract. Kyle Kuzma was extended with the Lakers. Any thoughts on either of those?
Yeah, so, I mean, Gobert, it's a good signing for the Jazz. They're like Cleveland. They're not going to get many free agents to go there. So when they have somebody that talented, you got to re-sign them if they're willing to do it. It guarantees they'll have a great defense for the next 5 years or however long the extension was. So I think that one was a no-brainer. And then Kuzma, I was actually surprised how much they were giving him. I thought he was a little underwhelming last year. Being the only asset that they weren't willing to give up to get AD, I was expecting more from him, but he is a solid player. So I was a little surprised with how much he got, but if you weren't willing to give him up, you got to pay him.
And so I think the Kuzma thing, it's kind of like when the Cavs gave Tristan Thompson a big deal. I'm middle of the road about that signing, but the Lakers, they don't have cap space to go out and get other big names. They have Kuzma on the roster already, so they can go over the cap to get him. He's a youngster who can hopefully pick up some buckets for the Lakers, particularly during the regular season, as they are probably going to be resting LeBron James a little bit here and there as he enters his 18th year in the league. So not my favorite signing either, but I see why they did it. They're not going to go and get anyone else. So that's kind of my thoughts. As far as Gobert, he's been awesome with the Jazz. And Ted, you said it. They're not going to be attracting all kinds of free agents. And honestly, there's not that many great free agents that are going to be on the market after Giannis extended with the Bucks. So I like that signing for them. I think we talked about it on another pod, and I said they should do it. He's a two-time Defensive Player of the Year, and his wingspan is 7 feet 9 inches. So the guy's an absolute monster. So I like that for the Jazz because they need to keep him and Mitchell together. That's their new Stockton and Malone. And I know they're not caliber-wise, they're not the same, but that's what they're building on. So I like it for them.
Did you see the Clippers also re-signed?
Paul George.
Paul George, but they also extended Luke Kennard.
Oh no, I didn't. What's that?
Yeah, he's getting $16 million a year for 4 years. The Clippers gave him, which I thought's a haul. He did average like 15 points for that Pistons team and shot over 40% from three, but I thought that was quite a bit of money for them to dish out for Kennard.
Good for Luke Kennard. His agent should be very happy because of his cut that he's getting from that. I actually did not see that, so thank you for bringing that up. That's pretty nuts. But the next question we're going to jump into, this is kind of a fun one. Every year recently, teams, they do this City Edition jersey. Ted, which of the newest City Edition jerseys do you like? Have you seen those? Do you like any of them?
I've seen some of them. the my most favorite one that I've seen has got to be the Charlotte Hornets. They have like the light blue with pinstripes.
Yep.
And it's got Buzz City across the chest with the gold ridge trim. I thought those ones were pretty fire. I might have to get myself one of those, actually.
Those are sweet.
Yeah. What was your favorite?
So first off, before I tell you my favorite, I absolutely hated the Cleveland Cavaliers, my favorite team. They wanted to do something that was rock and roll inspired, so they spelled out Cleveland on the front with letters from famous bands like albums. And Ted, I'm 33. I have no idea what any of the letters on that thing are from any band album. Not a clue. And most people that watch the NBA are around my age or younger. So I did not enjoy those. But the best by far, my favorite, the San Antonio Spurs. So back in the 90s with David Robinson, the Spurs had these awesome warm-ups that they would wear. They had like teal, pink, and orange. It's iconic. People loved it. They've never used those colors on a jersey. They did this year, and they look incredible. You said you might get a Hornets one. I might get a Spurs one. I don't even know who I'm going to get because I don't like a lot of players on the Spurs. But I love those jerseys. Maybe I'll get a custom one and just write awesome on the back because they're sweet-ass jerseys. So I'm a big fan. But, Ted, you know that me buying a jersey doesn't really say that much because I have like 50 NBA jerseys. But I
have a lot.
really like those ones. So
I haven't seen those ones. I'll check them out.
Oh, man.
I know the warm-ups you're talking about, though, so I can imagine they're pretty sweet.
Dude, they are the absolute best. I might get a DeMar DeRozan one just because I need one. But let's get to the big question, what the people really need to know. Ted, who's winning the 2021 NBA championship?
Yeah, so I hate picking championships this early.
Got to do it.
So many things can happen with injuries and whatnot. But I'm just going to have to go with the favorite right now. I mean, it's not a sexy pick, but I really think they have the best shot going in, and that's the Lakers. I mean, they just won it all this past year, and they got even better. What else do you have to say? So I'm going to go with the Lakers.
Yep, Ted, I'm surprised because you picked them to get beat by the 8th seed in the playoffs, but I also have the Lakers. You basically said it. I mean, they're the champs. They improved their team. They added Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder. I mean, AD and LeBron are one of the best duos of all time. And also, I mentioned this last week, people who are the heroes in Space Jam, which comes out this year, they always win. So I've got the Lakers. So, Ted, let's go to the opposite. We know the best team. It's the Lakers. We both think they're going to win. Who do you think will end the season as the draft lottery champions? And so by that, I basically just mean who's going to have the worst record. I know the record balls can go whichever way they go.
Right.
But, yeah, who do you think will have the worst record this year?
Worst record? Well, I'm going to go with the team that you forgot was in the NBA when we were doing our East rankings. And I'm going to go with the Detroit Pistons because they should be in the G League. So they do have Blake Griffin, who's still a good player, but I think they're going to trade him eventually. So once they lose him, I don't think they're going to win any games at all. So I'll go with the Pistons.
Well, I did forget that they were in the NBA, but you kind of mentioned Blake Griffin. He's like at least somebody that you can like really kind of get on board with. And, you know, when we did our rankings, I did have them below the team that I think actually is going to have the worst record after I had some time to remember that they were in the league. And that's the New York Knicks. And I'm sorry, Knicks. I'm especially sorry for Obi Toppin. I wanted him to be a Cav, but the guy's on the worst team in the league this year. I mean, they won 21 games last season. It was a 31% winning percentage, and they didn't get much help. Besides Toppin, but he's a rookie, and he doesn't have anybody to really set him up. So I've got the Knicks having the worst record in the league. Was that your second pick, or do you think there was anyone else?
I was struggling between the Knicks and the Pistons on that one. They might even I wish I should have picked a tie between them. They're going to both lose 20 games or win 20 games this year.
Yep, they will have the same amount of chances to win ping pong balls because 1, 2, and 3 worst have the same chances. So good luck to them. They need somebody. But Hey, that does it for our final NBA preview show. Next week when we record, we'll be recapping the first week of NBA basketball. And it's actually going to be our first ever show where we actually have Cavaliers hoops to talk about. So I'm very excited for it. And Ted.
Oh, me too.
Before we go, is there anything you want to just kind of let the listeners know, or anything you want to say?
Yeah, just thanks for listening, guys. And never forget, Warriors blew a 3-1 lead.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again.